level of machine learning, some level of data science, and so on and so forth. A lot of these AI blueprints that Google have had manifested themselves in models. In fact, many people don't realize that Google has 300 plus models in-house. One focused on medical, one focused on supply chains, someone focused on document processing, and so on and so forth. And Google was the originator of much of what we think of today as the generative AI revolution when they published the paper around transformers. Along with R&D and some of the best infrastructure that was built from the beginning for AI, for Google, this has been a journey of figuring out how to scale. Now look 18 months and you realize that whilst we were very much at the forefront of AI and used it internally, we had not necessarily recognized how to externalize that to the rest of the world. And there's something about AI that's unique. Now every wave comes and people are like, yeah, it's unique. But there's something unique. AI is probably the first technology that did not come out of an industrialized complex into the consumer. If you think about Wi-Fi, if you think about mobile phones, they all had applications in the military, in the medical field, and so on, and then made their way out. AI, on the other hand, was very much generative AI, consumer-driven. And so we found ourselves, around about 18 months ago, caught in like, wow, how do we actually externalize all this knowledge and put it at the forefront of our own customers? And we, along with the customers that we worked with, learned a lot. One can ask the question, how do you take a billion-user application and make AI very natural, additive, and part of the experience that develops growth as opposed to deviate? So we hope to share that with you. Now, we are equally proud that 18 months forward, the whole company, our CEO says, we made Google dance. Our whole company started to think about AI, engage with AI, do hackathons inside of the company, build innovations, and bring them to the market very, very quickly. Some of you, maybe we'll do a small test, might have heard of Notebook LM. Anybody? Yeah? Good portion. That particular technology was super impressive. You just upload a file and suddenly it turns into a podcast that you can listen to, you can ask questions. Now it actually generates videos and a whole bunch of things. Well, that was developed by 2 engineers over the course of a few weeks. Why? Because the underlying technology and platform was there. Similarly, last week we had an event in Singapore. I was way less formal, I promise you. I have been told there's a dress code for gartner, so I adhered, but usually I'm in my t-shirt. And my t-shirt had a very big banana. So how many people have heard of Nano Banana? Yeah, if you haven't, I highly recommend you go and engage. Everybody in the family will think you're the coolest person in the family. You'll take pictures of dinner parties and change them and so on. That was developed by a team of 6 in less than 6 weeks. Again, this innovation helped us reach this particular point where we've sort of went from, catch up to catch me if you can. So what have we learned along this particular journey? Well, there's a few things that we've learned that I think are important to reflect on because they act as sort of the blueprint for how we see companies and enterprises and startups sort of fold around the AI trend. Initially, everybody experienced generative AI through the lens of a chatbot. Can I get a better experience by chatting? And then very quickly that became, can I actually get a little bit better with search? Give me the information I want. So help me interact in a more constructive way. Help me access insights and information that I had. That was sort of the beginning of the generative AI revolution. Then we realized that in order for generative AI to have even more outsized impact and applicability in enterprise use cases, you should start to think about it as a multi-modal way. Not just text, but how can I simultaneously process and understand images, video, take inputs of conversation, and so on. If you think about where we're heading, today you pick up your phone and you open it. And you will click on a sequence of apps to do something that you want. Maybe 1, maybe 2 or 3. Let me check the weather, let me go into my calendar, let me do so on. That interface is changing very quickly into conversational. I would like to do the following thing. And can I activate all of these pieces? Which brings us to trend number 5, agentic AI. The ability for a system to autonomously act and behave and take action on your behalf. Of course, on the backbone of some security, multimodality, connectivity with your enterprise data, and all the things that we described earlier in these trends. It's trend number 5 that I'll spend a little bit more time on, because it's the one that is capturing everybody's sort of imagination at the moment, and really yielding higher value and ROI for the AI investments. Now, a survey that was conducted matches what we thought. Initially, everybody who we engaged with about a year ago thought of generative AI through the lens of productivity, almost exclusively. Can I get more productive? Can I write documents faster? Can I get to the information quicker? But increasingly, year on year up by 25%, people have been thinking about this as a revenue driver. I'm going to share with you a couple of examples. If you go to an online retail store, one of the main reasons that people abandon, we did this project with a customer, is when they can't find the product that they want very quickly. Or that they found that the second reason is they find that the information, the description of the product does not match all the details they want. Using generative AI, you can very quickly improve the search experience by grounding the data. Something that used to take months can now be done in a matter of days. But more importantly, you can actually create much better catalog descriptions, because AI understands how to describe this product, make it appealing. In fact, with AI with this customer, we were able to dynamically change the catalog description based on the persona of the person that's looking at it. If you're somebody who's a little bit more sports-oriented, you can describe this wear as washing machine, hardy, you can use it a lot, sweat protection, etc. And that helped a lot of merchants do it. How much did that result in? 18% increase in sales for the products that they applied AI on. So this particular part is very real if you're able to apply AI, not just the context of productivity, but also in driving revenue. Now, you may ask, is this applicable to only frontline sales? What we've also learned is that actually it's applicable in variations to almost every function. Where are we seeing the most